All right, everybody, welcome back to the Future Families Podcast. My name is Silas.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Zane.
And we have a fun episode for you today. But first, we are going to play a little game.
Yay!
This is obviously a surprise to Zane and I. So go ahead there, Mr.
So last week we played a little bit of like this or that, All right, if you had to pick one sport to be a professional at, to make your living at, and you were good enough to make a good living at, let's say $250K a year without sponsorships. Okay, so if you get sponsored, you're even better. What would you choose?
Cross country skiing.
That's super interesting.
I just like the mountains.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's legit.
That's fair.
Is wood carving a sport?
You would have started this at a young age.
I'm thinking my knees are going to wear out. My shoulders are going to hurt. If I'm playing football, if I'm playing basketball, I'm too short and white.
No,
it's
you could be good. Like there's good short white guys. I've never seen them, but I'm sure there are.
Somewhere in the 1950s.
You could do surfing. You could do.
Yeah, the water's always cold. I don't like snow. I don't know. That's
Maybe you could be a professional complainer.
Hey, I'm good at that.
I know.
I
You
don't
should say
know.
golfing.
Is poker a
It's a
sport?
fair
Golfing.
sport.
I don't like
Okay,
the
that's
clothes.
actually my answer.
I don't like the clothes. So
think
you'd be a
about it.
golfer.
Oh yeah, because think about it.
Ooh, I'll be a professional pickleball guy. Yeah, that's a joke.
It's making fun of us.
All right.
No, but think
So
about
you
it.
wanted to ask a question because you had an answer.
Think
So go
about
ahead and
it.
give it to us,
Okay,
Silas.
golf is the perfect sport to be professional at because A, you don't even really sweat.
That's
Not
true.
like football, right?
But you have to
Where
wear
you're
those
dying.
dumb clothes.
The
B,
sun's hot.
think about it, you just fly in for a tournament, you play the tournament all day, you come home, it's pretty chill, pretty relaxed. You play a couple tournaments a year. You can live kind of wherever because most places have golf courses. I don't have to move because Big Cedar has a lot of good professional courses.
You don't want to move from this house if you're making $250,000 a year.
I'm very happy.
Well, it's a nice house, but no.
Did you see that? That was contentment.
Wow, you exemplify biblical qualities. All right.
Okay, so
That was
today
it?
is going to be a fun episode. Oh, you want another one?
Well,
okay, I had another one.
No, I just thought that you
Okay,
had a point. You don't have a point.
Would you rather be a famous author or a famous actor? Good question, right? Good question.
Actors are usually demon possessed, so I don't know. I've watched a lot of TV or conspiracy stuff, so I don't.
I
want
would
to
say author because then I don't really have to worry about how I look when I walk out of the house.
Oh, that's a good reason. I like that.
Of all the reasons. I think author. It's more fun to like write your own stories, I have a
Yeah,
lot
I'll
of
go
authors I
actor.
really
I'll go
like.
actor because they're cool. So
You
I
just
could be
wanna
like Tom
be-
Cruise. I like him. So if I'm sure he has bad movies.
You gonna
Don't judge me.
Join the Church of Scientology
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, because I like
and
science.
then leave,
So
maybe.
maybe,
ever
yeah.
leave? I don't
I'll just have a breakdown
He's just
on
so
national
high
TV.
up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, if you're listening,
You can come on the podcast.
my brother painted a bicycle for his daughter once.
Painted a plane for him too.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I reached out to Tom Cruise and he never reached out back, just so you know. I was trying to witness to him, but it didn't go too far. So I actually did. I don't know why. I just felt the need. So there you go.
We'll talk more about that on another episode because
Deep dive into dad's strangeness.
you are strange,
Amen.
but the Lord works in mysterious. The Holy Spirit.
Grandy.
Did you hear that, Grandy? I mentioned the Holy Spirit.
Shout out to Grandy.
I love you, Grandy. Don't break toilets. Okay, so
Grandy, I'm sorry for Silas.
last night, me and Jules went back to. We spoke at a youth group. Okay, and we don't really know any of these kids, and we didn't really have any idea what to talk about. And
Wow, sounds like a fun evening.
I'm gonna be really honest.
Yeah.
This has been a busy week, and I didn't really want to sit down and like write something out and memorize it because it was like 30 minutes or so. So we played a game with them. And this was a lot of fun. Now, I want to do this with a room full of parents too. But we did it with kids last night, so we're gonna go through and do this game.
With
The
parents.
game was I've never met any of them. They've never met me, which is helpful for this. So I had them all pull out their phones because they all had phones and text me hello. And then I said, if you have any questions about, I gave like a preface, like about like you guys are like hopefully being raised in Christian homes. You're at a youth group, so these are all good things. But I talked about future men in the sense that a lot of the kids we see come from Christian homes and
Yeah.
good things, and all these kids were raised in youth group, but they're secretly hiding like
Stuff.
a porn addiction or struggling really badly with anxiety or depression or rebellion or laziness or all this stuff. So it's like just because you're checking the boxes doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up in the right spot. And so I was like, a lot of you guys probably have questions that you don't really want to ask your dad or your mom or your mentors or whatever. So text me any questions you guys have. And it was interesting because we got a lot of interesting questions. So we're going to go through.
Why are you such a nerd? Did you get that question?
No, I actually.
I would have texted that.
You would have known.
Thanks,
Why is your
Lovey
zipper
Bob. If I was like, we were prepared that no one would send in questions.
Yeah.
And I was
You're gonna
like,
make it up.
yeah, the first question I had written down was, who told you your outfit was a good choice? I just thought
see?
that would be funny to
See,
send
you're-
it.
you are
I
like
thought,
me.
because it's totally anonymous, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, man, if someone did this to me, I would totally say something that would just like try to throw them off a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's me too. See, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Silas.
Okay, so we're gonna go through, and because the reality is these are kids being raised in today's world. So if you're a parent listening to this, a lot of these questions are probably questions your kids have. And it was interesting because I was reading a lot of these out loud and we'd answer them. And their like youth group leader, she came up to us afterwards, and she's an older lady, and she was like, "So were those like fake questions?" And we're like, "No." She's like, "The kids really wrote those?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I'll show you the text, honey. It's right here.
I did. And but it wasn't like it was like a surprise of, oh, they're really struggling with those things. Because I think what happens is, as parents and as leaders and whatever, we get caught up in, typically we just believe the best about the kids and don't really like, we believe what they're telling us
Why?
because we want to, and because it means we don't have to deal with it.
That's the reason.
And so it's like, but the reality is a lot of these kids are struggling with like
Oh, yeah.
real things. And so
Was Nash there, by the way, last night?
no.
Oh, I was wondering what his question was. Like,
Oh, because she's your kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably would have. What do I do when my dad's obsessed with 9/11?
is that a question?
No.
Oh,
That's
that's
what I'm saying.
hilarious. No, I can care less about that. Well,
I know. I
no,
always
that's
make
not
fun of
true.
you for
I
9/11.
care about it, but not
Good.
I'm not a deep dive guy.
Okay. So we're gonna go through, and I should have pulled out some of these specific ones.
But you didn't.
Oh, okay. So let's just say you're a parent, or
I
you're
am.
coaching a parent whose
I am.
kids came to them with this question. How
Right.
do you deal with this in a discipleship environment?
All
So
right.
you took your kid out to Chick-fil-A, and you're sitting down, and you're like, "Hey, ask me anything." This is the question that comes out of their mouth.
Are these guys roughly like 14, 15?
Anywhere, these are between 13 and 18. The kids last night.
So pretty typical youth group, I guess.
Pretty typical youth
All right.
group.
Hit it.
Okay. Hi, can you help me with a pornography addiction? Just bam. That's it. I kind of laughed at this. Jules thought it was sad. It's both. It says, and I can't go to a boarding school.
I wonder why not.
I know, but it was just kind of funny. So we're going to answer these in like 5-10 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time
Yeah,
for each
yeah.
question. So your kid just comes with you. I am addicted to porn. I'm looking at it multiple times a week. I'm getting it through my phone or my laptop.
Yep.
Go.
Well, first of all, it's interesting they said I can't go to a boarding school. Here's why it's interesting, because you do need a reset. That's one of the biggest things that's going to like have an actual impact on a porn addiction is
No.
staying away.
Wait, pause.
Up.
You're not playing the game correctly. You're the parent in this
Yeah, yeah.
situation. Well, is
Well,
that
so
how
I'm
you would
saying-
talk to me?
Yes.
Well, you need a reset. You need to go to boarding,
No, I'm
So
not saying.
I'm saying,
it
I
is-
know, but
yeah,
pretend
we'll honor that they don't want to go to boarding school. I get that. But you're going to have some kind of a reset. So that means they're going to take the phones away. They're going to have to like lose all technology.
No. You're talking to me. Like I'm asking you a
Silas,
question.
You're
You're my
going to lose
parent.
all technology. You're
Oh.
going to like, no. So you tell your kid basically, okay, so I'm confiscating the phones and we're shutting down the internet because porn is like, it will destroy. It literally will.
Absolutely.
It's like either you can do this like the whole like rip the Band-Aid off kind of a thing. I would say you have to take that approach. And that's for all the kids. And it's not like there's going to be, and if you have one specifically, like if you got like a teenage daughter who's 17 and she's doing well, right? And they have this is a 15-year-old boy. Yeah, I wouldn't say you have to like necessarily step into her life and quote ruin it, right? But with his, you're going to have to do a complete like cleansing for a while. And a while isn't like 3 days or a week. I mean, we're talking like 90 days. I mean, it takes a while to make new habits. Get him get his brain sort of cleared out because it's not just porn. It's also there's masturbation. They're being rewarded for what they're doing. And depending upon how long this habit's been going on, right? So and talking to the parent, discipleship's got to come in hot and heavy with getting some background, getting some history, getting some getting them to open up. And if they've asked that question, now they asked you because it's anonymous, and they're thinking, you're not going to tell my parents, and you shouldn't, I guess. But it's tough. It's like that's a hard one because you really do have to have a way of taking away all access to it, because it's sort of like with drugs. It's a little bit now and then in the middle of it all. You're not going to break the addiction. You're just going to it's going to just be harder.
So in the discipleship, you have to figure out a couple things. You have to figure out where they've been,
Yeah.
where they're at, if those are the same thing, or if it's
How they get
continued
access.
worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. How you get access, and then the answer. So you ask them that and figure that out with them, and then the part you guys sort of tackle together is where are we going to go from here. So that usually means we're taking away the phone, maybe the laptop. We'll probably put restrictions on devices that you have access to in the house. Whatever the avenues that you're getting it, we got to just like it is cold turkey. It's hard, but it's like strip those away immediately. We can't do with that because it's not worth losing you.
The funny thing is, if you did this, if you caught them, now they're mad. If
yeah,
they,
that's what I was gonna say. That's what you can't do is you what
right.
you did all this because oftentimes, and not every time, a lot of times parents think they do their best, but a lot of times your kid's getting regular access to pornography in your home. It's usually a lot of times because the parents haven't done anything to prevent that.
Yeah, because they might not know.
Assuming the best.
Yeah. And the bummer is, though, it's like, again, if they came to you and confessed this, they might be more open to those changes, but they're still going to be like with the drug addict. It's tough, man. It's not going to be like, oh, thank you so much for removing these things from my life. It's going to be like rough, hard, but I need it right now. I need this right now. We're going to go do that right now. And I'm driving my car. What if I break down? I mean, there's a million reasons to not stick to your resolve.
Yeah.
But everyone is going to lead back to porn, including your phone, meaning asking to use your phone for a minute. And they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. So
kids are smart.
Yeah. Anything else, Zane?
Yeah, I was going to say, those are
we only have 30 seconds left on this question.
Practical steps that you could take. But I think I would also ask my kid, like, why is it wrong? You know, because obviously they're coming to you, so they know it's wrong at some level. Is it just this guilt that they're kind of feeling and it kind of feels dirty? Do they understand what it is? So I think I would have that theological conversation with them to make sure they understand the implications of it and God's economy, and then and make sure that foundation's there, because you don't want them to just have this legalistic idea of like,
Right.
oh, I'm not allowed to look at porn.
Now, just know this though. So like I'll give the example of Future Men. So right now we are week probably 5 into the porn discussion. It's usually about a 12-week discussion. This is one of the classes that I'm teaching the boys.
Yeah.
We're literally we're 4.5 hours into this one particular video right now. 4.5 hours, but on the video time count, we're literally like 9 minutes, because there's so much that they'll say. Right? There's so much packed into like the quick little, like when you watch one of these videos on YouTube or or a series put out by like the Conquer series, for example. Right?
Yeah.
There's great information. But the kids, like between spacing out, not understanding certain words, you got to stop it. And it can be annoying to the kids. And I make a game out of it at Future Men, because I know I stop it like every 30 seconds, literally, and discuss something. So as a parent, just know that question, we're gonna have information. Like I always say, if you join now, it will help, because there's going to be some pretty serious stuff on porn, helping you understand what exactly it is you're fighting, and then some good tactics to do that, because there really are ways of doing it that work.
I think what we're going to do on the school community, which is the community you can join if you click the top link, that was smooth, is have an actual course there just on pornography, dealing with it with your kids, like having that, like a step-by-step, how do you have this conversation with your kids? How do you react? And then exactly what you do practical. And then the conversations afterwards, like you said, like why is porn wrong?
Right.
Like, why is this a big issue? Okay.
That's where all that time goes, by the way, of those 6 hours or 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's not about, because they're already at Future Men. They have nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like we were describing very point blank what, first of all, it's doing to the brain and how, so they understand we're not just being mean, right? Because the videos we watch, for example, they're not even Christian videos. They're secular.
Yeah.
And they're trying to help, people get back into terrible lifestyles of like, fornication and things like that. They don't care. They just say, hey, I have a problem with my body because of pornography, and we'll go into more detail on the other things.
Yeah.
But all that to say, it's just education for the kid to help them realize, dude, this is where it's going to lead you, and get them to where they're literally scared of, well, I don't want that in my life. And it's like, well, yeah, of course you don't. So get off that road, because that's where it's going.
I think you also have to not be afraid to ask blunt questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they've already come to you and said they've been looking at porn, which means they've been exposed to a lot of evil and wicked things.
Oh man, yeah.
Like when you get on a porn site, like it's crazy. It's like
disgusting,
wildfire. So you can't be afraid to ask questions that you may be like, oh, I don't want to put that in their mind, or I don't even want to believe they've been there. 'cause
Yeah,
you wanna
find
know.
out if you can a history before you
Yeah.
delve in. If it's one time and he's 10,
Okay,
Go
so
slow.
we got to keep moving.
All right, next
we got to
question.
keep moving today. We're not going to get stuck in any of these, but they all have material worth getting stuck in. Hi, how do I deal with anxiety? I'm having a hard time in my life right now and feel like I can never stop thinking about the ways everything can go wrong.
Well, did I write that?
By the way, your wife is really pretty. They said that. It's better be a
Oh,
girl.
That's nice.
So your kid comes to you and you're like, "Hey, what are you dealing with this week?" And they're like, "I just every time I'm alone at school, all I can think about is everything go wrong. I just feel like I'm never okay, never relaxed." Take it.
Anxiety. So, well, I think I would ask them if they know, like, when that started.
What's
Yeah.
the source?
Yeah, what's the source? Because was there an event that happened? I know I've counseled some kids where there was a death in the family that was unexpected, and it's created this uncertainty in their life. Like, I don't know when I'm going to lose somebody I love, or they were hurt by something unexpected, or there's a lot of different things that could cause a kid to feel uncertain and fearful throughout their day. So I think just trying to understand if they even understand where that's coming from,
Yeah.
which just means like asking questions and being patient, because they may not understand where it's coming from.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the practical side of it's a rethinking. It's a how do you train your mind in a different response, because you won't have control of the world ever. People are going to keep dying. You are going to keep your job situation is going to change, whatever it is. So there's a for her, right? How do I get rid of anxiety? It's like you're retraining your mind to realize anxiety, that's just a secondary response, like anger to the situation. So
Yeah.
go back and look at the situation. Say, okay, what does the situation actually mean? They need to probably understand death. They need to understand grieving. They need to understand or if it's like school grades, well, now we're probably talking about, their self-image, their fear of the future. It's like all those things are just perspectives.
So Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So we asked the kids last night, like, which one of you is all of those things?
Yeah.
And like nobody raises their hands. And I'm like, okay, but which one of you spends most of the day thinking about yourself? And a lot of the anxiety comes from that. And they're like, everybody raises their hands, right? And so I think super practical, if you're talking to a 14-year-old, think the temptation that the devil's going to use is throw all these things in front of you that you can be anxious about. Because if you want to be anxious, you can be anxious about everything. The shoe can always drop, right? And so the devil's going to use that to try to distract you away from thinking about who Christ is. And so we told them, like, keep going back to this. Like, where is your mind focused?
So why do you say if you want to be anxious? Probably nobody wants to be anxious. So what does that actually mean? Break that down.
I think there's two things. So we talked about anxiety a lot, and we talked about self-confidence a lot.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I'm doubting myself, and if I'm wondering about my confidence, and I'm wondering about my thoughts and my anxieties, we talked about super practical, very surface level. Who am I thinking about all the time? I think about me, right? And inherently, they're actually selfish thoughts, even though it doesn't feel like that. If anything, it feels self-righteous. What is self-righteous? And so we talked about when you get caught in that panic mode, like, what are you thinking about? Is this all things about how they're going to affect you? Or is this like, we kept going back to like, what's your job in life? It's to glorify God. So if your job's to glorify God, well, now when hard situations come up or death comes up, it's like, how can I use this to glorify God, knowing He's enabling me to live my life in such a way that I don't have to be anxious about these things? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. This is sort of the same thing. I'm really nervous and anxious whenever I play sports. How do I deal with
just
that?
Stop playing sports. There's an easy answer.
Go be a professional wood carver. Your dad.
Amen. No, that's you're talking about performance. You're trying that the one to look good in other people's eyes, right? That again, but it's about the glory of God. I know that sounds so cliche, but it's not.
Yeah.
If you're helping them change their perspective on, if you're trying with all you've got, right, and you're playing this because it's something that's enjoyable, it's healthy for your body, you want to be a witness to the team, right? It's like those conversations help them realize if you're on second string, you're still glorifying God.
Yeah.
If you missed the ball and it was the winning point, honestly, no one really cares. after tonight's over with. So it's like you did your best. You have a good attitude. You're showing other people in that miss even that doesn't rock you, right? And chances are you'll probably become a better athlete because you do have the right perspective. But even if you're not really going to be an athlete and you're just like a typical high school kid who's playing because it's a social thing, right? If you as a parent are doing, a good job of helping them keep the right perspective on that particular thing they're involved in, way better chance of it doing what you wanted, which probably isn't the NFL or the NBA. It's just a good life experience that they look back on and they grew from.
And if you want more on that, go listen to our episode on sports.
I think also if you're getting this question from your kids, specifically this one, but there could be other ones like it, it'd be a good self-reflection moment because I think some parents
yeah.
get so invested in like sports and stuff and they put this pressure on their kids they're not even realizing they're doing, and it can produce anxiety in them, or it could be with academic performance or those types of things. So
That's a great point.
maybe just be reflective too when you're hearing from your kid. It may not all be things going on at school or outside the home that are causing that.
That's good.
How can I be more confident in myself?
Is that another question?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be more confident in myself? That's perspective again, because it's like typically you're too confident in yourself. You're self-focused. So it's more of a, how can I see whatever it is that I'm doing, right, as a contribution to the bigger picture? Not more confident in myself, but like, what's my role here? It's pretty easy. I used to tell like all you little kids, you probably remember this. It's like, as a Christian and living in a household of like you're 15 and under, your job is pretty easy. Honor your father and mother, you're going to win, right? So her wanting to feel more confident in herself, it's just understand the roles you're in, understand the opportunities God has in front of you, and are you literally doing your best in it, and then responding in a way that does indeed preach, kingdom messages when you don't do as good as you had hoped, or even when you do better than you hoped. Are you taking all the praise? Or are you like wrapped up in that now? Or are you still like same old you, just trying to, live life and learn?
Yeah, I think as a parent too, you have to realize what are you up against with this type of thing? Because they're probably hearing that message at school a lot, like believe in yourself, you can do it. Like my wife's reading a book right now. The title is called She Believed God Could, So She Did. And it was based off this sign that her husband bought her from Hobby Lobby that said, she believed she could, so she did. So like there's this cultural mantra that's like,
didn't that person speak at C of O?
I
think they did.
Maybe.
I know that story. I think they did a convo.
Oh,
anyway, sorry.
Not but yeah, I mean, it's just this cultural mantra of like, believe in yourself. You can do this. You got to dig deep, rather than pushing our kids to trust in the Lord and do what you said. Just fill your role and do your best. I think that takes a lot of pressure off.
When it comes to your kids, sort of like you said, when you're sitting in there with let's say your kid, this is a discipleship moment, right?
His raspberry?
Like, your raspberry, and your raspberry asks you, how do I be more confident in myself? I think super practically, because I was like, when I answered this question there, and I was like, that's just not even the right question, because like, it doesn't,
you told
yourself. Yeah. I was like, yourself doesn't matter. Well, I was like,
poor kid,
it's not about you.
Self-esteem.
I was like, because I told them like, if you're thinking, if I'm thinking, put this on me, how can I be more confident about myself? Well, I have to ask, like, who am I? Like, I'm flesh. I'm regenerated, right? Christ is doing a new work. But ultimately, I have inherently sinful desires. I'm selfish. I'm prideful. I'm all this. So why would I want to be confident in any of that? I think our calling is to be confident in who Christ is and what he's done. And so, and that comes from just knowing who Christ is and reading his truth and knowing his truth. And so like last night, we mentioned, like we've talked this about before. It's like funny that we're on a parenting podcast, even though I have a 1-year-old and you have a raspberry. And it's like,
probably a cute raspberry.
But the truth of it is, we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about truth.
Right.
And truth has nothing to do with who you are. So your confidence comes from the truth and from knowing who God is, not anything to do with you. Because if it comes from you, you'll never have confidence, because not in a nice way. Like, we suck. We're just kind of
right. Your letters behind your name may or may not affect how you apply the truth of God's word practically.
Yeah.
Right. So be careful, like when you're answering those questions, parents. I hate to say this, like the Sunday school answer is always correct. Like, are you doing it to God's glory? They're not going to know what that means. You got to break it down to like the again, practically, what does it look like? Like what gives God glory? Like if you're doing a house chore, right? It's gonna be dirty in 5 minutes. We already know that. But like you're doing this chore because it's like we want to be good stewards of this house, right? So it's like, you want confidence in doing this chore, be thinking, I'm gonna do the best I can
Yeah.
and not worry about what's coming after me or not worry about what made this mess, whose fault it is, right? I'm here. My job today is to do this well. That's it. My hands are clean. What happens next, irrelevant, right? That girl, she's on a tennis team, let's say, right? And it's like they end up, getting kicked out of the tournament because, maybe a simple mistake or a bad game that she had because she was just jittery or something, whatever. It's like, then she doesn't have to own that in the sense of like, you didn't ruin everybody's life.
Yeah.
Right? Perspective is you were to God's glory was, did you go over and shake that person's hand after the game and talk to them? Did you literally, it's okay, even apologize to the coach? I'm so sorry. My nerves were just crazy. I just couldn't seem to get a handle on my racket, right? I just couldn't do it right today. That's all you have to do. That's it. And then you're driving home talking about different things, not critiquing everything about that and just heaping on her something that she can't go back and undo.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some of the practical steps. I hope.
It's just when it comes to talking, and I learned this again last night, actually talking to these kids. It's like super practical, super basic.
Yeah.
They don't need necessarily your master's degree to be in play here. It's just a very basic, like, yeah, let's just break that down super simply. Did you shake their hands? Did you show up with good character? And with the confidence, like, encourage them. It's fun. Like, if you're confident in something other than yourself and that something is true, honorable, just, and all those things to the perfect degree, it's like you have all the confidence in the world, and it has nothing to do with your performance because
Right.
your performance doesn't matter. You're
Well,
here to glorify God.
But then keep in mind, right? Let's just say that you as a parent, it was a tough week for you and her because she wasn't showing up to her practice because she, I didn't want to go this day.
Yeah.
Or you knew that she was thinking of something else and she didn't put the work in that really should have done. It's like failing a test. If you've studied and you've prayed that God helps you remember what you studied and you're like, you've prepared, pass or fail, your hands are clean. You don't study and you fail, you still need to have a good attitude and you still need to move on. But one of the ways you move on is I need to be better prepared next time.
Better steward of what's in front
so
of
just
you.
be careful, help them carefully evaluate what's actually within their control and what's not. That probably will solve a lot of anxiety problems.
So speaking of anxiety, this one's just the same thing in a different flavor. Is anxiety an act of actually just not choosing to trust God?
Well, when it says be anxious for nothing, but everything by prayer and supplication, let your request be made known unto God. Yes.
You're really loving.
Thank you. Well, and I'm also a hypocrite because I'm anxious
yeah.
about something in my life right now, and it's like not the hernia, but
I think it's
business stuff.
also important to delineate in that a little bit because kind of like with lust, there's a difference between I'm being tempted to lust and I'm full blown like diving into this in my thoughts or my actions.
Right, feeding it.
Yeah. So I think there's so much opportunity, especially for kids nowadays, to be anxious, right? There's a lot of temptation out there to be anxious. So I don't think necessarily like the feeling of, oh, like I have this tightness in my chest, like I'm starting to feel nervous, closed in on myself, those types of things are always like, we're dealing with like full blown sin. But it's kind of like, temptation's knocking at the door. What am I going to choose to do with it? Am I going to let anxiety that's like popping up
dictate what
to
it looks
poor
like?
choices?
Yeah, it's good.
Or am I going to take that to the Lord? Be like, Lord, I'm anxious. I mean, David, like his Psalms, he's anxious. I mean, he's tempted to be anxious all over the place. Sometimes he's like full blown given over to it. Sometimes he's like, Lord, like help me, you know? So I think there's a bit of a delineation there.
It's good.
Yeah, I think it's just, I like that one. This one's funny. I don't know why I said funny. It's good because you just talked about lust. Hi, does kissing or desiring to kiss somebody fall under lust?
This
is a fun one. I thought it was fun.
Kissing or desiring to kiss somebody.
The hard part is probably not in and of itself but I remember being in those years, right? And it's like I was completely satisfied. Yes, thank you. I was satisfied with that goodnight kiss from that girl the first time, right? And I was a not a good person in terms of that was my scenario.
Player.
Yeah, it was bad. But it's like, but the next time, it was like that first step had already happened. So that was like quickly, I want that again.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's a little
What's
deeper
next?
kiss. Now it's a little touchy feely. And it's like, so yes, I mean, this is an ongoing conversation. One of the Future Men boys asked me the other day, we're in the middle of this porn stuff, and it's pretty like blunt and it's a little heavy, but he was asking me like, this kid, well, actually it was one of the younger boys in the crowd he asked a question, and the other boys kind of laughed because it was kind of a naive question. I'm like, look, he's young. And I asked him, tell me about the sex talk you had with your parents, not like the details, but like, have you had this talk? He's like, oh yeah, we did that. And I'm like, at your age, we did that. It's like, this is an ongoing thing. This is like, it's a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
So that kid, that's a great question to ask your parent. And then hopefully the parent has a clue and to realize, okay, yeah, at 14, it could be an innocent goodnight kiss after they saw a movie or something. And you're thinking, oh, it's so cute. But, fast forward, 6 months, a year and a half later, and they're dealing with literally just flat out fornication or possibly even pregnancy. It's like, well, didn't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Those are signs you gotta have a plan again as a parent. Right. But it's not to just, I guess, rage against something that scares you that in that moment, but rather careful planning. And there's a direction we're heading as a family. And I don't care what your direction is. Like, again, it's a hill. This was a prior episode, right? What hills you want to die on. You decide that, you and your wife, not,
right.
Not me. But know that they're coming. And if you've chose to put your kid in a situation where like they can date, let's say, right? Then just know there's going to be a lot of problems. There's going to be things you're going to have to deal with. So, gear up for it and be ready.
I think it's a super interesting, the way we got a lot of these questions that were similar to this. And at the end of the day, they're sort of asking like, how far is too far?
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if they're older kids, like 15, 14. That's all. Where's the line?
And we talked about when you're having the discipleship, this conversation with your child, like you said, it's a very ongoing conversation. It's not a one and done. It's a check-in all the time. It's also a thing where you do need to figure out where your family standards are, because the Bible doesn't say, well, if you touch there, boom, that starts to sinning. Like, we know sex outside of marriage is a sin, but it doesn't talk about what's before. But one thing we encourage them in, and you can do this with your kid. It's not like it's not a solution. It's not an end of the conversation, but we told them, like, a lot of these questions coming in are, how far is too far? And at the end of the day, that's kind of what we want to know, because selfishly we think like, well, we want to do all the way because it's all fun. How we want to do everything we can until we're sinning, then we don't want to do it. But we talked about the idea of that is pretty inherently two things. It's prideful because you're assuming I'm going to get to that line and then have the self-control to stop. And I was like, if you've already gotten to that line, you're already probably in it pretty heavy with your head and where your emotions are at and your hormones and everything. And the second thing is, it's like, when we're talking about, if you really think about who we're saying our lives are under control of, which is God, and our goal is to glorify him and love him and honor him. But our question is, how far can we go before we sin?
Yes.
It's like, that's not even the right question. The question should be not where is the line, but how can I turn away and run from anything that would even bring me close to the line? And so it's sort of helping them understand a heart shift of the goal isn't how close can I get to sin? It's how far away can I be to the other end of glorifying God?
Right, and still be a functioning person.
Yeah,
because you're not going to live in a monastery.
Abstinence and nunnery is
right.
It's not
and another way to put that is just not asking what's allowed, but what's best.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's
and I think that's.
You just said what I said. It took me 7 minutes to say it. That was nice.
But I mean, I think that
if
we're all honest, like I have not teenagers, but I have like 20-something-year-olds that I'm counseling that are still wrestling with that idea. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is really a wisdom question, because it's like, is it wise to
be
engage
alone
in that kind of physical contact? Not is it allowed, but is it wise? That's a slippery slope. So.
Yeah, and most people, it's completely allowed, and because the parents are almost like excitedly expectant of their kids beginning this because they did. Right. And they, of course, if they just remember what they did, they might be like a lot more, I should be more cautious, not excited.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things in life, right? Getting married and starting a family. But like when you physically we're ready for this is where society's kind of hurt us, our culture. You're ready around, a woman's ready around 14. A man is ready probably around 16. The problem is our culture says a man is ready around 25. A girl is ready around 21, 22. I mean, keeps getting pushed back and back and back because the responsibility that comes with a marriage, right, or taking a partner is harder now. It's more costly. You have to be better equipped, so to speak, or at least we think that. So it's just they're ready to play the game about 10 years before we think they're ready to play the game. So you're expecting them to stay pure for 10 years.
It's a long time to sit in line and look.
Oh, it's real long. And it's like if you're at all playing the game, man, it's either, and you think you're going to stay pure, either you're with the wrong person because you're not going to stay pure. I mean, we're meant to be together. And if you're putting yourself in a compromising situation, which just means there's no accountability there, it's just a matter of when. It's not really if. So,
well, it's hard because, and we told them this last night. I was like, guys, we went to college, we dated, we struggled, and not more importantly, but on that same aspect, I was like, most of my friends I grew up with are now married.
Right.
We got to see a lot of people in relationships in college. I've never met any one of my friends, any one of my relationships, anyone that didn't like struggle or fail or fall constantly throughout their dating relationship.
See, so we can do it.
That's
so
what they
so
were
it's
thinking.
okay. I want you to go tell your parents that you heard that today, youth group. It's okay.
Yeah,
no, but it's like so you just have to be really careful.
Yep.
Never assume you're the exception. Like you always say, like don't think you're going to get to the line and be okay, and don't think your kids are going to be perfectly pure when they're 16 or 17 driving alone at night and they, have all the time in the world with no structure.
You've heard this, Alice, right? When I give counsel to people, because I get asked this kind of question a lot from parents. That's fine. I love it, right? They'll say, well, don't you trust your kids? I'm like, I 100% trust my kids. I trust them to like cross the lines because they're men. They have testosterone. Yeah. They're women. They want to feel emotional closeness. It's like, yeah, I trust them. They're humans. I trust them to be a human, which means I got to help them.
Well, it's funny because I'm like, because you're right. I think we all are inherently like, we want to trust them, but it's so stupid because I'm like, I look at me and I'm like, I wouldn't trust me.
Well, what does that mean?
I know.
I want to trust my kid, AKA I don't want
them to be bad.
Or I don't want them to be mad at me.
Yeah.
I don't want them to like make my Friday night a headache.
But even I think sometimes, especially moms are like, well, my kid couldn't do that. And they've convinced themselves that is true because they really do believe their kid is great.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm like, but just look at your own heart and think, how often do I make that right call? And like, okay, I'm 50. Why do I expect a 17-year-old to make? I'm role playing.
Oh, you're putting yourself in my shoes.
Mother.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, or 50.
Why do I expect my 17-year-old to make a decision I can't make? Still,
right. Yep.
Like it just doesn't work out that way.
Good question.
So this is a fun one. I want you to take this like Droopy's asking you for this age because this question gets answered differently depending on your kid's age, obviously.
All right. So this is a 13-year-old.
13 to 15. Let's say that. Okay. What do I do if I like someone, but I don't know if they're the one?
Well, they're not the one.
I read that. I was like, try not to laugh.
That's hilarious
because it's like, oh man.
Yeah. So that's a discipleship question.
But to be fair, that's what these kids are thinking.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because if everyone feels like the one, but this is where the ongoing conversation happens all the time. Like Hawken used to think this. Smockin used to think this about Smemily. Hawken, if you're listening, I'm glad you're listening. But we had this talk all the time because he knew she was the one in his mind at 14.
Well, technically, right.
And they got married. So yeah, it turns out he was right. But our thing was, we did this, we met every week and we were very open and blunt about his love for this girl. And I was careful not to use that word in those days.
Girl?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Love. Because it's like, I don't want him thinking, let your emotions go there yet. I just kept telling him, okay, if you really think this is, something you want to pursue, not a problem, but you've got to focus on preparing right now, which means you're a man. What are you going to do to provide? So you should be working on job skills. You should be working on, how do you present yourself in terms of as a leader? When you're with her now, how respectful are you? We let them have all kinds of what we call your circles crossing, right? They were both involved in music. There were a lot of events they did together, not as a couple, but as friend groups or as a band or whatever. And then she happened to be friends with one of my daughters. So she would come over once in a while and spend the weekend or whatever. But when that would happen, we would have all kinds of precautions put in place to not let them sort of get comfortable with each other because she has nothing to do with you at this point, right? That's further down the road.
In a romantic way.
Yeah. It's you can be friends. But if you allow your brain to go somewhere that's more than that, it's like, okay, well, and you can, as a parent, you can say, nope, my kids at 14 are going to have these wonderful dating relationships and we're excited. Okay, awesome. Then you better have your plans in place and be doing a very good job of discipleship, because you're going to need it. And so did we. We needed it too, because it's like stopping your heart from getting entwined with another person's apparent beauty and just who they are it's brutal.
Very titillating.
Yes, it is.
Very titillating.
It's an appropriate use of that word. So it's good job. We're actually proud of you.
That's how you would answer that for a younger kid, right?
Yep.
Now, let's say your kid's just graduated high school,
Okay.
getting ready to where, okay, he has a job, right? He maybe is ready to, technically he could get married. How do you answer that question differently?
Yeah.
If they're not like dating yet? They're like, I really like this girl. What are some things I could be doing to kind of...
Yeah. So there were several of our kids.
Wait, you know what? I want Zane to answer that.
Oh.
Sorry. It's not because you don't have wisdom. It's just because I just want to hear more from Zane.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
I like your flannel today.
His answer will probably be
Yeah, it's a
better
beautiful
than-
shirt.
Yeah,
Looks
it's
a little big in the
actually-
chest muscles and the arm muscles, though. It's like stretched out for some reason. That's weird.
It's okay. Bulking season is coming.
This was his shirt.
I didn't know that.
Is what he wants everyone to know.
I don't want everyone to know that.
Um,
I love you, Zane.
Anyway.
what was the question? I don't remember.
So they're,
How do you
they're
answer that
18,
question differently
19.
for an 18 or 19-year-old?
Okay. So, yeah, what I was going to say was at that point, okay, if all the practical things are there, they have a job, they have some savings or whatever, you know, some of the things that they think, okay, practically these are what I need. And you think before I am able to support a wife, if we're talking to a son here, I would say like now's the time to start figuring out like what do you want your family to look like? Because your wife is going to be a key player in that, right? In that vision. So how do you know if she's the one, if what you believe God's calling you to in the future, or if you don't know what God's like calling you to the future or in the future? So if you're going to be a missionary, but you're going to look into a girl that's a small town girl, she's not planning on ever leaving her hometown. She loves her family, doesn't want to be away
Mhm.
from them. And you're like, maybe she's the one. It's like, well, like, is God actually calling you to the mission field? And would she be okay with that? You know, I think those are the types of questions you need to start discipling your son, in this case, to think about as they're pursuing somebody.
Because if you're asking somebody to follow you, right, you're basically saying you should kind of have at least a basic clue of where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
So here's a practical application of that, right? When Colt was in college and he was about halfway through, he was starting to Miss Molly, he's in love with this little girl or liking her. And I remember asking him one time
names.
if, yeah, too bad. But I remember asking
Holly.
him like, okay, let's just say this job doesn't work out, because he'd planned on getting hired by the fire department. And I happened to have known at the time they weren't going to offer him the job because there was a guy who had a family. It was kind of like it was a more pressing need, and they knew another opening was coming. And I just asked Colt quite simply. I didn't tell him that because it wasn't really my business. But I asked him. I said, "What if this job didn't come? Would you still want to be married?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I just get like a second job, working at Lowe's or doing something else." He said, "Because I feel like I really am ready, and I want to provide for this girl. I want to start a family." It's like awesome. That was the right answer because it wasn't based on a circumstance. It was based on his work ethic. It was
Yeah.
based on he knew I want that responsibility. Now he knows, because he's deep in the marriage now, that responsibility is real. And it's like, you can jump in anytime or you can wait. And like Zane, you jumped in pretty late in the marriage, and it's like I think you really knew what you were giving up and what you were gaining, right? Giving up the freedom, giving up the load, so to speak, of thinking I'm always responsible. Now it's like, okay, but the beauty is I've got a wife, I've got a child now. And it's like, that's awesome. It's a different kind of like awesome, right? But it's like helping your kid understand what it's going to mean to be providing.
Counting the cost.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the last thing I'll throw onto the end of that, which we said last night, because you're talking about like super practical, right? Something you always told us, if we're looking at somebody wondering like, ooh, I kind of want to date them. You see a pretty girl on campus, you talk to her twice, she's really sweet, and she was nice to you. Your number one step isn't I'm going to ask her out.
Right.
It's like, how can we hang out and I could just kind of get to know her better as friends? And like you said, like make your circles cross. Get in situations where you're going to see her in different spots other than there's like super pretty at the calf. Like go do some volunteer work with them, or go, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go
You'll see them in action.
Try to get in a small group, or
Yep.
go to their church, or just, see them doing life, because a lot of times you'll notice things about them actually just living without having this need to impress you or be like your girlfriend. They're like, oh, like that's kind of concerning. I would never want to date someone that would say that about that person, or treat a waiter like that, or just like some of these basic things that are going to be like, you're going to answer that without having all the emotional hardship of like, let's just jump straight into dating and then deal with things 3 months from now.
So that emotional hardship, right? It looks like infatuation.
Oh yeah.
That's a word we use. And then sadly, infatuation, if you're in a relationship, can quickly turn into sexual attraction and fornication, which is even stronger bond because it's supposed to be, right? So now it's like a double whammy. But like you said, I remember it was hilarious. One of my kids, I won't say the name, we're driving down the C of O campus. It was hilarious. It wasn't you, but we were driving down the C of O campus together, and there was a girl he knew. Cute girl. She was really pretty. And he's like, oh, let's give her a ride. I know where she's going. I'm like, okay, sure. So we pulled over and he said, hey, you want to ride? She's like, sure. So she gets in, I give her a ride, and she gets out. Then he had a class with her. And then he is also like, fast forward 5 months later, we're together again because we're doing discipleship. And I was over to campus visiting him. And I see her walking again. And it's a cold, windy day. And she's walking up that long hill up by the guard shack. I'm like, hey, should we give her a ride? He's like, nah. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, this is the girl that you made me stop. He's like, yeah, but I don't like her anymore. And then, but it was funny because it was like he realized.
I want the name of this kid. We'll talk later.
Well, it wasn't you, sadly enough. But I just laughed inside thinking that's what putting yourself in that circle, it just wakes you up to, outside of me getting emotionally attached because they're cute. Mm-hmm. And then learning the hard way. Now I've got some emotional damage and possibly some physical, damage. I lost nothing. And he lost nothing other than just, hey, you can still give a person a ride, ding dong.
Be a good man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I just laughed.
I know who this is.
But it was good for me. It was good to realize, this is how it works,
So you would say titillation leads to infatuation, leads to fornication.
Man.
Oh,
there's a lot of words. This is a book.
Oh, no.
We better end the podcast today.
Went too far.
Are we done?
Oh, well, on that note, that's a good spot to shut it down.
There you go.
Communications.
This is a different format, but if you liked it, let us know. And if you liked it, send in questions for us to answer.
There you go.
It's kind of fun to answer questions because you get to help in that moment, and it's not all theory. You can be a lot more practical. If you have questions, email them to us at futurefamiliespod@gmail.com. Most importantly, go join the school community while it's still free, because it won't be free forever. One day we're going to charge an arm and a leg for all this.
Not a rib.
Not a rib.
That's what God charged Adam for wife. So.
Thank you. I love biblical history. Email us, join the community, and then subscribe to YouTube and leave us a review on Spotify. Comment, like, subscribe, share, do all the things to, please help us grow. Help us share this with more families. And if you have any questions, concerns, send us an email. And that's all we have for you today, unless I'm missing anything.
Nope. Adios.
Bye.
You guys always throw things on top of me in the podcast, and when it's time to end, you're like, okay, we're done.
Yes.
Now
Amen.
you're like, well behaved.
Thank you.
Kids. I need a new parenting podcast.
Ooh.
All right, bye.
I parent my dad.